We're live. Okay. Welcome, ladies. Hello, hello. We are here with Monday Mom's Mindset, and I have my beautiful friend here, Miss Courtney Epps. I'm going to introduce her. But as you are coming on, let us know you're here. Give us your name. Let us know if this is your first time on. We've had a lot of new members jump on. And so I'm going to really bring some value here. We've got our amazing tax genius here. We're going to dive into her story. She's got an amazing background with network marketing as a professional, but then also on the tax and the business side of it. So we're going to be talking about her story and where she came from and what she's currently doing. So as you're coming on, let us know you're here and drop a 1 and if you'll just scroll up there and give a StreamYard your permission to say your name and where you're coming in from, because otherwise we just see Facebook user at this point. So that's all the housekeeping duties here. And I see Miss Lynn. Welcome, welcome. Glad you're here. New client of Miss Courtney's here, Miss Lynn Hendricks. Y'all know each other. So Courtney, how are you?
I'm doing amazing. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for taking out time out of your tax season here in the midst of all of this craziness going on and coming on to share your story. So a lot of ladies, as you know, it's tax season. She is a professional in what she does. However, she does have a different set of skills because she does come from the background of being a network marketer. So tell us about your story. Tell us about your journey, because I find it was really great to get to know this part of your story, which a lot of people probably don't know. So talk to us.
Okay, so, a little bit of background about me. I've been an accountant for 19 years, and I started with a really large CPA firm right out of college, actually, while I was in college and right after. And they were working about 100 hours a week, and I decided that was probably not best for me. I was about 7.5 months pregnant my first tax season, and I had an 11-month-old. Actually, she's a little older than that. They're 2.5 months apart, or 11. They're 11 months apart. My first two children. So anyway, so super crazy times, and I just felt like their relationship sucked. They had no relationship with their family, and that was not what I wanted. So I started looking for anything else but accounting, but I felt like I was really good at it. So me and my mom owned retail stores. Like we've owned an insurance agency. That was kind of my largest business, and that ended up going from insurance to owning a tax practice again. Yet again, I kind of fell into that, and so I took that tax practice in a matter of 3.5 years, from the time I was 25 to 29, to 3,500 clients. And I ended up putting that up for sale, and the guy I sold it to quit paying me after 4 months. So I was just going through I was going through some personal issues with my ex-husband, and literally the only thing that he had against me, he was trying to get full custody of our kids because he didn't want to pay child support. And so the only thing he had on me that I worked hard. And so I was a single mom with 3 kids. And so he used that, and I was scared, and I put the business up for sale. I didn't do any due diligence and sold it to a con artist. And after 4 months, he stopped paying me. I was $250,000 in debt. I lost everything that I owned except my kids. So that was plus.
Okay, so let's like you've said a whole lot of stuff inside there, and I really want to dive into this really just a little bit, because in just talking about from the mom's perspective, right? Because there's probably going to be some moms that I can, for one, identify with this too, because mom, working mom, trying to do everything that moms do, being successful, and then going through a relationship breakup, and then that being held over your head, fighting for custody, your success, right? But now they're leveraging that against you. You can't be the best mom. You can't be there for the kids. So they hold that over your head. Let's talk about that for just a minute, because I know exactly how this feels. So, but let's talk about this right here, because a lot of women may be able to really connect with this piece.
Yes. Well, and the biggest thing for me is, I would never, if something's going good in my personal life, and my business is okay, I'm good. If something's going wrong in my business life and my personal life's okay, I'm good. And so at the time, emotionally, I was freaking out. Like I didn't want to lose my kids. I wasn't going to lose my kids. Like that wasn't the whole thing. It was just that whole scarcity, like something being held over your head. And then being told, well, you can't be successful and be a mom all at the same time. And that's kind of what he was trying to get at. And, and I thank God I've come out of that and realized I can be. And honestly, the best thing that could have ever happened to me was to lose that business, because I was working 100 hours a week and I was away from my children. And then I figured out a way to work from home with my children.
Okay.
And I ended up building and growing yet again, the same, actually an accounting firm much bigger than what the accounting firm and insurance agency I had. And I didn't have all the employees. I didn't have all the overhead, and I didn't have all the stress. And I wasn't working 30 miles away from my children. I was working with my children, because when I failed, or when I put that business up for sale, and the guy quit paying me, I felt like a failure. And
Yeah.
it wasn't because I failed and I was $250,000 in debt and could not afford to file bankruptcy. Literally, did you know that you can actually in this country go to file bankruptcy and pay for it and have to voluntarily withdraw it because you can't afford the payment? That was me. Like, that was me 8 years ago, I guess. Yeah, 8 years ago. I ended up.
Wait. Explain this again. Like, wait, what?
So when you can file Chapter 7 or you can file Chapter 11, and I wanted to pay these people back, but when I left my office, I had $8,000 a month in debt, and I had a 5-year non-compete. The owner of the company that I sold the company to, that wasn't paying me, although he wasn't paying me, he would threaten to sue every single person I tried to go work for. So that in the state of South Carolina, you've got to have an attorney in order to battle your LLC or your corporation. And so I was unemployable. So I couldn't work for anybody, and nobody would touch me with a 10-foot pole. As much experience as I had, I couldn't start over. I had a 5-year non-compete for insurance and accounting. So I couldn't start another insurance agency because I didn't have a book of business, and that's a requirement. You got to have a book of business to take to an insurance insurance company and say, here you go. I have all these people I can bring you. And then as an accountant, I couldn't just start that over from scratch, and it wasn't during tax season.
Wow.
I was kind of stuck, and everybody I knew I was already doing taxes for them. So I got to a point where it was like, how do I come up with $8,000 or $9,000 a month in debt? And that wasn't even to feed my kids. Like, that was my debt. So I couldn't afford to pay that debt. So I said, well, I'll file bankruptcy and at least cut my payments down. But because he wasn't paying me, I couldn't get a job. I couldn't guarantee that I could make the payments. So I had to voluntarily withdraw my Chapter 11 bankruptcy. It's crazy.
Wow.
So I was like, well, it only goes up from here. What do we do from here? And I ended up, what's crazy, I'd always wanted to have a fundraising company, and I'd always wanted to help people. So in the meantime, until I could build my accounting practice back up full speed, my cousin, she had a vinyl cutter. And I asked her, I said, and she needed some sales tax returns done. So I went and did those sales tax returns for her. She showed me how to use this vinyl cutter. I turned that into a $250,000 business the first year. We had 17 employees working out of our house. And so it became, we started selling to schools. So, the little like vinyl, like double wall tumblers, we used to put like polka dots on them and school logos on them, and we would sell them to the schools. And so I started that because there was nothing else I could do. And so we started building that up. And then my parents, although we were working really, really hard, it was like we were spending it constantly in employees. And although we were still working from our home, it felt like we were going backwards because this profit margin on screen printing and vinyl signs and banners and stuff are really low. And so my parents got me involved in network marketing into a company. And I fell in love with the fact that, you could not only help people save money in taxes, which is what, my passion was always. It was not about doing tax returns because you can probably already tell I'm a people person. Like, I don't like to sit in an office all day, But I used to love picking up the phone and saying, hey, I just saved you $5,000 on your taxes. Hey, we're getting you back $11,000. That was exciting for me. And so when I saw a way that I could not only save people money in taxes, but then I could also help people make extra money, that got super exciting. And it was a way for me, when I saw network marketing, to me, it wasn't a huge viable opportunity. It was, this is a way that I can now go meet new people and I can start growing my accounting practice again. And that was why I showed up to my first event. I remember I got business cards. Me and my husband went. I told him, I'm like, baby, we're going to go. We're going to show all these crazy people who think they're going to make money in network marketing, and we're going to do their taxes. At least we're going to save them money in taxes along the way.
That's great, though. I mean, because it is a great fit.
It is.
Because there's so many people that start their business and have no business background, have no skills, don't know how to do any of these things, right? And they end up being in more debt or can put themselves in a worse situation, not having that educational piece. What a great benefit for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, it made a lot of sense since I went and I just fell in love with it. I'm like, man, this is a lot more fun than accounting. Like people tell me all the time, they're like, network marketing is hard. And I'm like, come to my office, do a tax return, do some bookkeeping. Like, let me show you what hard really is. Picking up the phone and calling somebody and telling them about something you're excited about, something that could potentially change their life, something that would guarantee to save them $4,000 to $8,000 a year. Like, there's nothing about that that's hard. It might be scary, but the thing is, when you understand that all you're literally doing is giving them an opportunity to have a better life, giving them an opportunity to be in that second tax system, is what I call the wealth system, which is for business owners. They have that opportunity, and all you're doing is educating them on it. Because unfortunately, in this world, people have no comprehension of financial education, nor does the government want them to have that. So I'm gonna just leave that right there where it's at. But the education is lacking so much that people are literally just giving money away to the government when they could have it for themselves and it could change their life. And so that's kind of become my biggest, like my motto is help more, have more, do more, save more, and give more. And that's what I'm all about. So
what a great mindset. What a great mindset, especially for an accountant. Like, I love that. Like, that's not your usual mission statement for an accountant. I just have to tell you, like,
no, it's not.
It's just not. And it's very interesting because, most accountants, if you study the colors, and, most accountants would not typically do well in a network marketing company because they're all green, right? They're all analytical, right? So you're very interesting because you've got that red blue thing going on with a lot of green at the same time. This is a very unusual kind of personality vibe. I dig it. I love it.
Well, and that, the thing is, I think people are so scared of it. And I'll tell you this, I was taught in college that network marketing was a scam as an accountant. So, I used to really bash other accountants for the way that they treat network marketers. But it's true. Had I not been in the industry, had I not gone and sat at a Starbucks for 12 hours every day for days on end trying to help people grow their team, had I not put in 178 people in 45 days and know what that looks like, that was my first 45 days, I would not have comprehended it. See, accountants typically, they get an office and they sit in that office and they put, if for those of you who know what yellow pages are, they would go put out a yellow page ad and then people would just start calling them. And so that's what they know. And so they don't understand how you go and sit down and have a conversation with somebody at a Starbucks or Atlanta Braid Company and tell them about what you're doing. That's not professional to them and they don't comprehend it. So, now that I understand that I was taught a certain way there's no tax strategy in college. How about that? There's not a single tax strategy class that accountants take, and nor is there a single continuing education class that accountants take. And so and sadly enough, accountants don't comprehend there are no difference in tax codes for business owners. Like there's not a home-based business owner tax code and a business owner tax code. There's not one for like me and then one for Amazon. Amazon and me and you all have the same tax code as long as we're business owners. And that's, I think, what throws them off, because they think that there's some different level of business owner categories, and there's not. Because you're a business owner, you're entitled to every single business deduction that as long as you're attempting to earn an income.
Well, and I had another a tax specialist, an IRS tax specialist on here too, and she was like, so one of the biggest mistakes, and I know we're derailing from your story, and we'll get there, girls. I mean, so because it's so cool, but she was actually talking about like how they walk into an accountant's office and they say, I have a business, and so automatically that jumps their, they could have brand new home business, but it automatically jumps in their mind the difference of what they'll pay $300 to $500 on their tax fees. Like, I was like, really? They would do that? She's like, absolutely.
Yes. So, I mean, and what people don't understand in this whole process is that when you start a business, you're not spending a ton of extra money if you're in a home-based business or a network marketing business. And that's what I loved about it. It was like, I didn't have the money to get started. Like, let me tell you this. We had no money. I had 6 children. I couldn't file bankruptcy. My parents put me into a company, right? They paid for me to join, use their credit card. I went out, put in 13 people my first day. So,
wow.
But if I had not been, and then, so I had major issues with my upline throughout that entire process as I started building that company. And when I got to my last rank in the company, my upline was literally attacking me every step. It was a good old boy system. And they're like, Courtney can't get you where you need to go. You need to come work with us. They were literally telling people I wasn't even an accountant. And so it was very upsetting. It was very upsetting.
So I want to talk about this for just a minute, because this is really, unfortunately, it's really that it really is truly a scarcity mindset. I can't even imagine as an upline and having somebody like you. I mean, ladies, can you imagine having somebody like Courtney coming into your team, recruiting 13 new people in one day? Like, what? I mean, there's a lot of times that most people don't recruit 13 people in a year, right? But one day, I mean, I would be like, okay, how can I help you? How can I serve you? What can I do to, help you build your business? But you didn't get that. You got pushback.
The sad part, what ended up happening is, as I continued to grow, I was the #1 woman income earner in like my state. And so all of these my upline, their team, because I was growing so fast, we put in 198 people into a company in 30 days. And I'd never done network marketing before. So when I did that, their team started coming to me saying, hey, can I come to your presentations? Hey, can I use your presentation? And what I didn't realize, I wasn't using the presentation that the upline wanted me to use when I moved from one town to another. Mm-hmm. And they were trying to force me into using that presentation. Oh, you need to do this with duplication and blah, blah. And I'm like, no, this is working for me. I'm signing up 12 people a day at my presentations. You're signing up like 12 people total, right? We're not doing that. We're not switching. And so that caused a major issue. And then the other part was that I had a skill, I had education that they didn't have. And so I started teaching and sharing the tax piece. And when I did that, everybody wanted to come to me. And it was like,
here's what I would know. Here's what I mean. If you came in and your system was obviously working, I'd be like, okay, what's your system? Let's jump on your train. Like, right?
Well, it was crazy. I'll tell you, I've never really told this on camera, but what happened is my upline was engaged to the other side of the company. There was a fallout with him and his fiance, and she ended up marrying the number one income earner in the company. And I didn't realize I was using his presentation. So it was just an ego thing. He did not want me or his downline to use that presentation. He created his own. And so nobody told me that story. So I'm like, when you came to me and tell me I'm supposed to change, I'm like, nope, nope, not happening. Like, we're sticking with this one. So that was all it was. He didn't want me to use that presentation because that guy was married to his ex-fiance. It was crazy.
This sounds like a major soap opera. Like,
it was. And so I left that company and went to another one, and they loved me. It was it was a nutrition company. Had a lot of health problems. Thankfully, I moved to that company and learned, whole food, plant-based nutrition and all that good stuff. And the one thing I love to tell people about my story is that the second time, which is when I joined that company, it was $421 to get started. It was November. So it was, there was no tax returns to be done. The last tax extension is October 15th. We'd lost so much money with this other company. Our income had, just plummeted because the company wasn't doing what they were supposed to be doing to help us fix the problem with the leaders. And so we ended up, I sat on a couch in Alabama with a leader and I said, look, if we don't make $5,000 this month, like we're not going to have a place to live. I don't have any opportunities. I don't have any other way to make this. And if you're going to run with me, I'm willing to run, but I have to make this much money. And she told me that she would help me do it. And so it was $421 to get started. I had $429 in my bank account. I had 6 children. We had about $30 cash, and we were 8 hours away from home. And we made the decision to do it. And the sad part is that had I not been an entrepreneur and realized there was no other possible way, I would never have done it because I could not have taken the risk. But for me as an entrepreneur, and if you're a W-2 employee, please understand, I would never knock a W-2 employee, but there's a different mindset that has to go in place there. And so their mindset is about security. I need the security. And I didn't have a paycheck coming on Friday. Like, I didn't have a whole bunch of extra money. I didn't have somebody to go to. I didn't have a credit card because my credit was shot. I had $429, and I made the decision that we were going to join that company. And we ended up being the 5th rank in the company the first month, the first 28 days.
So let's camp right here for just a minute, because there's a lot of great nuggets in here that I really want to talk about, because so many times getting down to that piece, I mean, that you talk about, the fear could really creep into the mindset piece. I mean, a lot of people could have shut down. A lot of people would have said, no, I've got to hang on to this. This is the last one, this is the last little bit. But here's the thing, it's always about when the bed of nails is hard enough, like that. And you made the comment, you used the word decide. And that is the word that I look for more than anything whenever I'm talking to an entrepreneur. Have you decided? Because most of the time that decision never takes place because the bed of nails is not hard enough.
Yes.
There's not enough discomfort in the situation that they've decided I'm all in, blinders on, because whenever you decide, it cuts away all other options. There's no other way. It's celebrating at the top or dead on the side, right? And that's where you were. I mean, $429, 6 kids, it's got to happen. Like, that is burning desire, willingness to work, total teachable. I love it. This edifies it all, right?
My husband didn't have a job. So this was not like, okay, we're going to be fine. We have a job. My husband has been a stay-at-home dad and worked alongside me for the last 9 years. So there was nothing else, but we made it. And I mean, I remember, like, we drove back home. We left about 2:00 that morning. We drove back home. I got straight in my car. I drove straight to the first person. I didn't even sleep. I drove straight to the first person and I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to change the world together. Do you want to do this with me? And, and they said yes. And then I drove to the next person and I said the same thing. But I drove 2 hours to the next person, and then I drove another 2 hours to the next person, and I drove back home that night. So I didn't sleep for almost 48 hours, but because I knew, like, we hit the first rank the first day. Like, I knew that I had to do something different with my life. And we made about $4,100 with that company. And, 4 months in, we were doing $7,000 a month. It was going strong. My business, my accounting practice was going strong. So I built it, alongside. And, thankfully, what ended up happening, which was a big turning point for me, is in May of 2017, I got really sick and I thought that the product stopped working. And I didn't realize I was living in a home that was infested with mold.
Wow.
And and I was like dying and did not realize it. And that 5.5 months later, we realized and ended up having to move out of that house, and we lost everything we owned. But, I just, in my brain, because I'd already said, I'm going to get sick again. I'm going to have all these medical problems. And what you believe actually will come true. I mean, whatever you want to happen is going to happen. Just say it's going to happen and it will. I mean, that's just the way I believe. And so I got sick and I stopped everything. I just stopped. One of our sons, who is now my adopted son, it's my husband's son. He went through a stint with his mom. His mom actually sexually abused him while under his care. And for the first time that he went back for visitation, she's a meth addict. And both of those things, I was living in mold, and that happened, and it shut me down completely. And because I was now dealing with something that happened to me when I was 11 years old, when I was a little girl, and I was molested, and I wasn't allowed to deal with it. And it shut me down like cold turkey for about 6 weeks. And instead of, and I'll tell you this was my breaking point. This is why I made a decision to go into being an accountant. So I hope that, and I've never told this story before, but I want to share it because it's so key. After about 2 weeks of not building, I called my upline, I loved her to death. She was one of my very best friends, I thought. And I called her and I told her what was going on. I told her about, because I knew what was going on in my mindset, that, I completely shut down. And then I had all these medical issues and I couldn't figure it out. And she said, you know what, Courtney, you need to just get up off your ass and you need to go work. She didn't acknowledge, I'm sorry that this happened. I'm sorry that you're going through this. That's what she said. And immediately it was like, oh, you don't care anything about me. This is all about money. And it shut me down, and it should not have. And that's the thing. It's like, I see it now. It should not have shut me down, but I could not. I just couldn't. I couldn't keep going. And so I told my husband, go get a job. And for the next 6 weeks, I just spent some time with my children.
Can we talk about that for just a minute? Because, I want to, because a couple of things, right? Because we see this, and I see this, being in the situation that, I'm in, because she could have said that as speaking truth in love. Like, she could have really said that because she did care about you, right? That's a possibility, benefit of the doubt.
Yes.
But on the other side of it too is like, okay, let's really consider where somebody really is and find out before we have that conversation, because you never know what people are going through. And so you have to give them the space to be able to navigate through it and be there and let them determine and let them decide at what level they choose to participate. We talk about, Larry and I, we talk about the Thompson rule, right? The 80, 15, and 5 concept, and so that applies. I mean, most everybody thinks that, because most people would have categorized you in hearing your story, you're a 5%er, right? Right? Because of the drive, because of the desire, because of all of that. But in that moment and in that time, that's not who you were.
No.
You were here. Yeah. This is where the desire it didn't match up. It wasn't the normal you. And that wasn't really evaluated or taken in consideration. So that can vary. I mean, so I'm sharing this because the level of desire can always vary depending on the set of circumstances, depending on what's happening in somebody's life. And that always has to be evaluated all the time. And so, and I can see why, that could be hurtful, right? Because of your perception, like she doesn't, all she sees me as a check. So that hurt, right? So now there's distance.
Yes.
Um,
And the thing is that I knew exactly what she was trying to do, and I'd done it so many times to so many people. And I realized in that moment, like, as much as I have been through and the things that I've gone through in my life, it's very hard for me to get off my path. And that one thing took me off my path. And that I needed to hear that I needed to get up off my butt and go work. It just wasn't the right time. And I look at it and say, gosh, how many people did I take off the path because I didn't at least allow them to know that I was empathetic. Like, I understood where they were coming from because I'd been there. And, and that's kind of what I was looking for at that moment in time. And so I don't think she meant anything by it. I mean, things happen. Things happen in desperation as well,
yeah.
And so I ended up literally I sat at home for 6 weeks. I mean, we were like losing everything. I don't know how in the world we were going to make it. And thank God I went to a Tony Robbins event. And why I went to that Tony Robbins event, or even how I knew about Tony Robbins? It was network marketing.
Yeah.
See, I love network marketing. Like, it is the greatest thing on the planet to me. Even though my experiences happen, they happen in business like that every single day. People are out to hurt you in business. They have no advantage to help you in business. Like, there's no other accounting firm that's going to step in and say, Courtney, let me help you make $1 million and show you how I got there. That doesn't happen in my world, in the real world. But I ended up, somebody reached out and said, hey, Courtney, can you please just come and speak to this one trainer in Atlanta? I drove to Atlanta. I came back home. I saw a Tony Robbins billboard. I went to that event like 3 days later, and I realized that I was self-sabotaging myself. I realized that I have massive limiting beliefs, not from what happened in that experience, but what happened years prior, losing my business. I realized that I wasn't allowing myself to win again. I wouldn't allow myself to be successful because I was so scared of failing. And I was, the self-sabotage that goes into that, every time I would get successful or get to a level of success, it would scare me to a point where I would destroy it and I would implode on myself. And that's what I realized that I was doing.
So how did you break through that? Whenever you recognize that, what did you do to break through that?
Well, I think most people, it might take a little bit longer, but I felt like it was me and Tony in that room, and he was talking to me, and he said, if you continue to allow yourself to be a failure, then your children will grow up knowing that you will always be a failure. And that was enough for me. That was like, oh, okay. So what you're saying is that I'm so scared to be successful because I don't want to fail again. But if I don't attempt to be successful, I am a failure forever. And that just hit me. It was like, okay, now that's got to change. And then the next thing that he talked about was you get to choose. You get to choose how you handle what's going on. And that's a good thing to talk about for today, right? What's going on in society today.
Sure.
Your choice is to be sad, grateful, thankful, blessed. You get to choose how you accept what's going on in your life today. And what I realized is that for the first time in my entire life, I was truly depressed. And a lot of that actually stemmed from living in mold because it causes those symptoms. I didn't know that. I had a lot of other crazy things like ringing in my ears for 12 weeks. I couldn't talk on the phone, like massive pressure in my head. My brain fog, I lost my memory for 6.5 months. So those are enough to cause you to be depressed. But that I was dealing with those things, crazy stuff.
Wow.
But when I realized that I truly get to decide whether I'm going to be happy or sad every morning when I wake up and every second, and that I could, in a split second, he teaches you you jump up and down, which changes your physiology, and you listen to a happy song, And you can't help but be happy no matter what your situation is. So you can either be grateful or you can be sad. You can be depressed or you can be happy. And you can think that today what you've been given is the worst thing on earth, or you can think this is the greatest opportunity on the face of the planet. And that's where I'm at. And the clients that I have that are in that same situation that realize, man, this is an amazing opportunity. What are we going to do today? How are we going to change the world today? Those are the ones that are thriving, and those are the ones that are happy. And guess what? Those are not the ones that are going to get sick.
So,
Because
so let me ask you a question about this because mold toxicity is a thing, right? So
it's bad.
and so I know this because I walked through this with my daughter. So I get it. So what did you whenever you got that diagnosis because of all the side effects? So this was all simultaneous to Tony Robbins, right?
Yep, I went to a Tony Robbins event in June of 2017, and during that, I was living in mold. Our landlord had hid the fact that there was mold in the house that we were living in for 5 years prior. And so I didn't know what was going on. Thank God, a real estate agent, I was telling her all of my symptoms, telling her how sorry our landlord was because we'd had this water leak in May that turned into widespread mold. He never had anybody come and contain the area. So it literally spread all over the entire house. It was a 4,300 square foot home. And so, but the mold was there before. And so my body, because I'd had such immune system issues prior, my body started shutting down faster than everyone else. And mold doesn't cause symptoms, it exacerbates them. So anything that's underlying, it started. So it brought back my fibromyalgia symptoms. It brought back my migraines that I had every single day. It brought back all of my IBS that I'd had for 22 years. So all these things came back, and I thought I was going crazy. The doctors had no clue what it was. Luckily I had this real estate agent that told me it was mold, and I had a president of a nutrition company that told me, Courtney, if you don't move out of that house, you're going to die because your body can't fight against any sickness and disease, no matter what you give it, if it's trying to fight against mold. And we moved out October 13th, 2017. We lived in a hotel for 45 days. We lost everything that we owned. We brought about 4 outfits to our name. And while we were waiting on the landlord to remediate it, he actually sued us and tried to evict us because when I told him all of my symptoms, he knew that if he fixed the house, people would find out what was going on with the house. And so he tried to evict us. The house was condemned. And then the house he sued us, and we're suing him, but it's cost us about $400,000 out of pocket in the last 2.5 years. And we're still paying an attorney $5,000 a month to fight that battle for us. And we're still having major symptoms. I mean, I just had I had a fungal infection storing in my jaw bone. It was a hole inside my jawbone, and they had to cut out half my jaw and take both of my molars out. It was crazy. My son had a cornea. He almost had to have a cornea transplant. He had a fungal infection in his eye that it was like his cornea was turning white from the fungal infection. He was a day away from having to have a cornea transplant, had 3 sinus surgeries. And I still take about $400 a month in nutritional supplements to keep my memory where it's at today. So, but yeah, I lost my memory for 6.5 months, my short-term memory. And thank God for Tony Robbins. Cause I mean, like I listened to what he said. It takes one time for somebody to tell me what to do. And then I listened, and he told me to find an employee, and I found an employee. Thank God she carried me through all the months while I was really, really sick and kept us going. And then, we moved into a new house December 2017. Thank God I had a network marketing company that helped my credit score go up 100 points so I could put down 30,000 less on my house than I did. And I ended up getting a house, even though we had a prior bankruptcy, because we had to end up filing bankruptcy about 8 years ago, and Chapter 7. And so, I'm so thankful for all of this. Like, God just gives me things. He really does. He gives me things so I can share them with you. Sometimes I wish that he wouldn't give me quite so many things and put so much faith in me. But I see.
But here's the thing, though. I think what's magical about it, first of all, you recognize it.
Yes.
The fact that you recognize that, your mess is someone else's message.
Yes.
Your test is a testimony for someone else. And that's how we all are. If we're open to be able to share it and be able to use it, because somebody needs to hear it, right?
Yeah.
And so I love your enthusiasm about how God shows you things so you can share it with other people. And so you're sick. So tell us, and you're not feeling, whenever you don't feel, so what did you do? I want to go back to the Tony Robbins. Did you get up and listen to a happy song and jump around even whenever you didn't feel good?
No, I continued to go on this whole health journey, trying to figure out, what I could do to get better. And it was like, I would be fine for a couple weeks and I would work. So the day after I left Tony Robbins, I decided that what I needed to focus on was helping the masses take the road less stupid. Okay. So that's kind of what I saw. So my mind was working right around that time. And so, which was good. And it worked for about 3 good months after that. And then things started really going downhill. But I became a fractional CFO. And so the day after I met Tony, I went to I met with 3 people. I ended up getting $6,000 a month in accounting clients at that point in time. And so those continued to grow and grow and grow, and they led into others. And so by the time this was all happening, fortunately, I had enough residual income, monthly income from these clients, and I had an employee who was helping me, kind of like in network marketing. Yeah, I may not be able to work, but if I teach my team how to work and do all the stuff, then I can move on. I can go over here and be sick, and they can be working. And that's kind of what happened during that process. And then as I continued to get better and better, we started taking on more and more clients, and I took on a couple more employees. And, by August of 2018, I was on the road to making $10,000 a month for 10 different clients. So, because I'd gotten rid of this fungal infection, and after 6 days of going through this massive detox where I truly thought I was going to die, everything got better. Like all my symptoms went away, which is great. And I've been great ever since then. But I went to a business mastery event with Tony Robbins. So I'd agreed to go to that. And I heard some statistics that really hit me, because my focus, I said, if I could get 10 clients to pay me $10,000 a month, or 12, then I could only deal with those 10 or 12 instead of doing tax returns for all these people, right? And so I heard some statistics by Grant Cardone. I will never forget it. Changed my whole entire life, changed my whole entire business model. And it said that the average household income is $60,000 a year. And from that $60,000, they pay about $14,000 in taxes. And so that's left over. Your take home is $46,000 a year, because the average American is a W-2 employee. And so what's left over from that 46,000, you've got to pay for things like rent, utilities, which is called a cost of living. And the average cost of living in America is $53,000 a year. So that means that the average American household is going in debt $7,000 a year to work 40 hours a week, 50 weeks a year, to take 2 weeks paid vacation. And I stopped my car and I just sat there and I said, okay, God, like I'm the only accountant that knows that just by having a home-based business, you're guaranteed to save $4,000 to $8,000 a year if you just attempt to earn an income. So I get it loud and clear that that's what I'm supposed to be sharing. And so I was on the way to Tampa, Florida. No joke. Me and my husband had a decision. We'd made a decision and a commitment, because I love network marketing. And I said, you know what? Once I get to a point where my accounting practice is paying me $10,000 or $15,000 a month, then I could go join a network marketing company if I wanted to on the side, right? Part-time.
So let me get this straight. So average income is 60,000. Taxes on that is 14,000.
Take home is 46.
And the average income
the cost of living in America is 53. And they're going in debt $7,000.
Wow.
And it's actually higher now. I just looked up the U.S. debt clock today, and the average household is literally going in debt. It's about $74,000 is what they're in debt, like their national debt right now. And so that hit me like a ton of bricks, because I was on my way to Tampa, Florida. I was going to join another network marketing company. I was meeting with the owners. And so it'd been, a year and a half, 2 years, whatever. And I stopped and I said, that's not what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to share this with the masses. And, it was really loud and clear. Like, I'm not supposed to be a fractional CFO for all these clients. I'm supposed to help millions and millions of people see that one piece, that the average household is going into debt $7,000 a year. And just by having a home-based business, it would guarantee that they could save $4,000 to $8,000 a year. And that's what I started sharing. I picked up the phone. I called seven different high income earners in the network marketing industry that I knew. And I said, hey, I've got this idea. If I share this content, will you please get it out for me? And I did. And that's exactly that. The rest is history. Like, it's been a crazy ride since then.
I love that. I love that. So this is so powerful and such a great message because, just by attempting, like, I love the word, just by attempting to have a home business, you can save this money that you would be spending otherwise without question.
Yes.
Right?
That's why you be brain dead, not on a home-based business. So, and that's true, because you're not spending a lot more money. You're just taking all of your living expenses and redirecting those into business expenses. So we're not spending more on our cell phone bill than a W-2 employee does. We're not spending more on our internet. We're not spending more on our household things, our business use of our home. It's just now that we have a business and we've moved into the second tax system, in which so many people don't understand what that means. So you have the first system, which was created to steal your wealth away. And please understand, this is just straight, this is the truth. So the first system was for W-2 employees, a salaried employee. So it was created to steal your wealth. Whereas a business owner system, which is the second system, it doesn't matter if you're home-based, it doesn't matter how big you are, brick and mortar, whatever. That second system was created to provide wealth for you. So we create economy as business owners. We're the ones out selling every single day. We're keeping everything going. We're moving the dollar, right? We're also hiring employees and subcontractors. And so because we're doing that, we get massive tax breaks. And then somebody has to pay the taxes, so it trickles down to the employees. That's just the way this country works. And so when you understand that, now how do you get into the second tax system? Attempting to earn an income. It's not about, like, you may suck at selling stuff or you may suck at telling people about stuff. But the thing is, all you have to do is open up your mouth and tell somebody about what you're doing, and you're attempting to earn an income per the IRS. And that's what the IRS says. It doesn't say you have to make money. There's tons of businesses, millions and millions of businesses that start every single year that never make a dollar, and they have losses. Most businesses lose money for at least the first 3, 5, 7, 10 years. I mean, Amazon, let's get it straight. Amazon lost money the first 20 years.
Wow.
And they still continued to take losses every single year. And now you see they're the largest company in the world.
Right. So this is such valuable information. I mean, like, great nuggets, and especially first of all, just being able to recruit somebody in your business and share this piece of it, but the average person wouldn't know that, even if they started a home business, like, to navigate through those steps and how they would go about doing it. So I want to get into that, but I want to get to where, like, what you're doing right now. So, like, you've had this shift. You're not in network marketing. You've had this shift because this is like your passion. Your thing that you really are wanting to help home-based business, the average home-based business owner, to be able to, instead of taking that money out of their pocket, to put that money back into their pocket, right?
Yes.
So how do people work with you? How do people connect with you? How do you serve the person that's watching this today?
So we have a couple ways. One, the first way, if you want to work with me, you book a tax strategy session. And so what we literally do is we take your prior year tax returns. We look at the way you did them and see, okay, we need to fix this. And we will look and try to go back and find money if we can. We can amend tax returns. You can go back 3 years. And with the new tax law now that just came out with the CARES Act, you can go back 5 years. If you had a loss this year or in 18 or 19, you can actually take that loss and carry it backwards. So we do a lot of amending tax returns. We do a lot of amending payroll tax returns. But our biggest step is first that tax strategy session. So we're looking at what was done, how are you structured, what missing expenses did you leave off, and how much is that costing you? And then moving forward, what do we do to keep more money in your pocket? And so, that's the first step. We have a membership. I have a book. But that is the first step. We don't even allow people to come into our accounting practice without them having a conversation with me or one other person to say, this is what you need to do. This is how we need to do it. And we'll give you our prices, but you don't have to use us. So it's just literally for you to say, okay, this is what needs to happen. And so we just had a network marketer that was overpaying $110,000 a year for the last 3 years.
Wow.
Her accountant did not understand, and that's the biggest problem is when I had one client that had a CPA, a bookkeeper, they were doing all the work. The problem is all of these events that she was doing, like at bowling alleys and restaurants, they were writing that off to shareholder distributions as if it wasn't a business expense. And then when people would reimburse her, because she's the leader, and people would reimburse her for the event, they were actually claiming that as income. So she was getting hit twice. Not only was she not getting the benefit to write it off, but then she was paying taxes on the income that wasn't even really income.
Wow.
So it was 50 grand in 1 year that she ever paid, 29,000 another year. So, that's our focus. You do the tax strategy session. You decide if you want to hire us or not. But we'll tell you exactly what you need to do. And then moving forward, we can take care of it, or you can have somebody else take care of it.
Love that. Love that. So we've, let's talk about, like, as we get finished up here, this has been really amazing because we're going to be, as we open up the membership here, because this is this community sharing her excellence. This has been excellent. So what are you going to, what excellence are you going to give these ladies? Like, what are you going to teach them so they'll know?
So, the biggest thing for me, guys, is one, I love to call myself a motivational tax strategist because I've been through like all kinds of crazy things, which is, and Ray Higdon said the other day, he's like, everybody should have a motivational, like there should be a motivational plumber. There should be a motivational like hairdresser, but what I've learned through continuing education, I'm a platinum partner with Tony Robbins. And for those of you who don't know that, that's $85,000 a year plus $40,000 in travel. And I've learned so much from that to be able to come back, not only from the business piece, but, I became a platinum partner to grow my business. And I wanted to go to Business Mastery to grow my business. What I didn't know is that my business wasn't the problem. My mindset was. And so, I've been trying to share that with people, just help people understand their mindset, and that's what's holding you back. So, but I do it from a tax standpoint because see that 85,000 and the 40,000 wasn't 85,000 and 40,000. It was more like 56,000 because it saved me money in taxes.
Yes.
So everything I do is like, oh, this is amazing, and it was a tax deduction. It's just the icing on the cake every time. So I'm going to share with you ways that I hire my kids, that I all of our vacations that we take are tax deductible because my children work for me. I'm going to show you how my swimming pool is a tax deduction as an employee benefit. Just teach you the things that I've learned along the way because I didn't learn this stuff in a textbook. I didn't learn this stuff through theory, through reading a book and hoping it worked out. I learned it through educating myself over time. And I also stopped being scared because not for the last 19 years, I've only had one client ever be audited. And that one client did not have a home-based business. So if it were true that you're more likely to be audited by having a home-based business, wouldn't you think that one person in the last 19 years would actually be audited in my accounting practice? And the one that did, we won. Like it was just, here's the documents, here you go, here's your proof, this is what you wanted, and we're done. So, to knock out the fear, I think a lot of helping you guys understand and knock out the fear of the IRS, of the government agencies, the next step on that is to help you what to do in order to audit proof yourself. If you do get audited, what do you need to do? And then to teach you how to keep more of your hard-earned money. And then along the way, the great part about it, as you learn what I'm sharing, you'll be able to go and talk to people and have an educated conversation with someone. If they say this is not for me, or I don't have the extra money, yes, you do. It's just in taxes. And they say, what do you mean? Let me explain the two tax systems. So that's my goal, is just to work alongside you and help you grow your organization and have a more relaxing and less taxing life.
I love that. That's so good, because this is such a great piece right here, and such a great tool to have in your toolbox as you're building your business and having an understand to be able to be educated enough just to have those little money conversations, right? And you know how to protect the entrepreneur, like especially in this gig economy world, because you know I know that there's probably going to be a lot of changes within our tax system because there's so many 1099 workers. And so I know that that's coming. And so we need to stay on the educational piece of this so we can, you know, put more money back in our pockets. So I love this. I love what you're sharing, Courtney. And I so appreciate the value that you brought here, because not only being an accountant, but being a network marketing business accountant at the same time, like having an understanding of what that is to be a networker. I mean, such a great combination. I think it's so great.
Yes.
So, okay, so let's talk, because we're in this environment here. Tell the ladies, like, what do you do? What do you use? Like, do you have a favorite, you know, quote, a scripture, something that you use? Keep your mindset, because you've had to overcome a lot of, a lot of mindset issues. I mean, you've lost, you've gained, you've lost. You've had a lot of ebbs and flows in your business. What do you use to equip yourself? What things do you use? What tools?
One thing that I do almost every morning is something called priming. It's something I learned from Tony, and you can look it up. It's called priming, and it's about 10 minutes of your day, and it just uses breathing. It's almost like a meditation, but it's not. Like I can't think, like I think too much when I'm trying to meditate, but it's literally spending 10 minutes when you first wake up in the morning. And I may do it sometimes just laying in the bed. And I think about the three things that I'm most grateful for today and the three things that I'm going to do today. And I commit to doing those three things. That's a big, big deal for me. And the other thing is keeping my mind really busy, you know? And I think that's the one thing that network marketers stop doing. It's like, okay, if there's not an event that I have to invite to, if there's not, you know, another party that I've got to invite to, it's like they kind of stop. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you, it's funny because I do the same thing with my tax strategy sessions. So on Sundays, I'm like, oh my God, we're not making any money. And then I walk in on Monday and I'm like, oh, we have 24 tax strategy sessions. So I keep my calendar super, super full. And as long as I do that, even if it's just putting on the calendar that I got to make new clients, that I got to post stuff on Facebook. If I keep my calendar busy and full, then that keeps my mindset going in the right direction. Because guys, it is easy to, especially when you're working from home, to say, oh, well, I'll do this in 15 minutes. I got to go do the laundry. I will tell you, I don't do anything else but work. Like, I spend time with my kids and I work. I hired people to do everything else. My children clean the house. I have a full-time nanny now. You know, my husband, like, he cooks, or my nanny cooks. Like, I hired people to do everything that does not produce money-making activities or make my life easier. And that has been the greatest thing for me, because my focus and my effort, I have to change the world. See, because, I know I didn't even talk about this, but for every dollar that comes in my accounting practice, I feed a serving of whole food, plant-based nutrition to children in need through a nonprofit called Manna Relief. And for every $25,000 that comes in our accounting practice, about every 3 days, we also provide, we free a child through Operation Underground Railroad. And guys, it is in my DNA. Like 2 years ago, April 2018 is when we started feeding children. And I got excited about it because it was that company. I fell in love with what they were doing, the whole buy one, give one model. And I wanted to do that for my business. I didn't think I could do it. And at the time, it's like the first month that we gave, we made $15,000. Like, and so I had to give, like, I don't know, $1,300, $1,400 to this company, to the nonprofit, and I didn't have the money to give. So I mean, and that's what I'll share with you. Like, even if you don't have it, you need to give it anyway, because it comes right back. But now we're giving 8,000 a day. We're feeding 8,000 children every day of our life.
Wow.
That's about 270,000 is where we're at right now. So we went 2 years ago, we were doing 15,000 a month. Now we're doing $270,000 a month. And there, nothing about that number, like the money number, means a thing to me. So some of you, it might be that you're not growing your business because you don't have a big enough why. And to me, it wasn't a why about me. I was going to create a legacy for my children, right? I was going to create enough income for us. But at some point in time, it's like the income is enough. And but it's never enough when you have such a big cause. Like a child, you're worried about the coronavirus. Like, I'm worried about the fact that every 6 seconds a child dies of malnutrition. And so if I'm not working, I'm not feeding children. If I'm not working, then I may not be able to spend the money to free a child. And I don't know if you know this or not, but you can actually buy a child to take their organs and harvest their organs for $10,000. And so that's what I live my life for. Like, I love freeing up money for you people, but the reason why I free up money is so that I can feed children, so that I can free children, and that I can create a legacy, and I can teach you how to do the exact same thing. And it's 100% tax deductible as a business expense. And so that's my passion. I mean, really, if you want to, at the end of the day, you should get, that's why I say you got to help more, have more, do more, give more, and save more, so we can go around and do the exact same thing and help everybody else do it.
So let me ask you a question, because I mean, I know the answer, but just for the ladies. So because this is going to be a membership platform and we talk about business and we help you grow you, right? Would this be a tax write-off?
Yes, 100%. Anything that you're using to grow your business is 100% tax deductible. Continuing education, like when we have events, because I'm sure I'm upset that I did not get invited to the first CEO event, and I want to be at the next one on the beach, because I don't even think they have beaches anymore. That last time y'all had one, it's like you shut it down after that. So
no, oh my gosh. We're going to have more. It's coming.
Exactly. So, but everything that you do, as long as you're attempting to earn income along the way, is a tax deduction. So this is fun. See, this is the fun stuff, and it's all tax deductible. But if you're a W-2 employee and you decide not to be a business owner or don't tell anybody about what you're doing, it's not a tax deduction for you. It's an expense.
Yes, that's great. Such great. I love this. This is so amazing. So, okay. So final words. Oh, do you have like a book? Do you have a book is your go-to book? Like you want to share with the ladies?
Well, one of the things, and I'm giving it away, so I'll give you the link to for anybody to get my book right now for free, because more relaxing, less taxing. Why be brain dead, not own a business?
Okay.
Free, so that's great. As far as books, I do a lot of I listen to a lot of audio. I have to listen to Tony Robbins almost every single day of my life. I YouTube him and just listen. Between him and Les Brown, you know, I'm fortunate enough to, if I'm upset, that I can pick up the phone and call Les Brown and have a conversation with him. About every week, I can pick up the phone and call, you know, Sam Castor, who's the president and founder of Manor Relief. And so those two people like drive me. But listening to YouTube and listening to Tony Robbins is what I would tell you. Like, it gets into my brain and it immediately makes me happy. And then I make my staff, I have 17 employees. And when they get all stressed out and freaked out, I'm like, okay, we're going to stand up. We're going to dance now. We're going to jump up and down and everything's going to be okay. And we're going to do that for 60 seconds. And they think I'm crazy, but it's so, so true. Continuing education is just, guys, when you realize you are in total control, you really are. You are in total control of your life today and every single day. And you get to choose. Is it happening for you? Is it happening to you? Because to me, it's happening for you. And when you have that mindset, I truly believe that anything in life is completely possible. And thank God, you know, last year last year I spent every 3 weeks, I was at a Tony Robbins event with Tony Robbins. And I'm fortunate enough that at every single event, he did a massive transformation with me. I mean, he spent 3.5 hours with me one day in a transformation, going through some things that I was dealing with one of my daughters. And so, that's what fuels me. That's what drives me, is that I can hear his voice and it takes me right back to where I was that day. And I listen to all of his songs. So, I mean, you think I'm crazy, but your body cannot be upset or sad if you're jumping up and down and listening to some happy music. And then when you get other people involved, you can laugh at them too. And then it's a lot of fun. And Nicola knows all about it. She was a platinum partner with me.
Yeah, well, and so Tony Robbins, his mentor was Jim Rohn, which Larry and Jim Rohn started the same company the same day, right? So all these connections and all of this, because I love what you're saying, because whenever you do this, it changes your physiology, it changes the vibration, it changes the energy around you, and ultimately it changes the direction of your thinking. And that's where it is. That's where the magic comes in. And so I really appreciate you taking the time to share your wisdom and share this journey, because this such value. So okay, so ladies, that is it for us today. I just want you to show some love, show some hearts for beautiful Courtney here, and we're going to give you some information like how you can get connected and how you can connect with her. We'll be sharing the link with the book, and so all the goodness and all the good stuff. So Courtney, thank you so much for being here today. Thank you so much for sharing your story, sharing this stuff, because I just love your heart. I love your vision, and I love your passion to serve and help people stick more money in their pocket. It's amazing.
Thank you. Yes, so we can give more, right? We got to give more, and then we got to go on more vacations. I cannot wait to go on a vacation and spend time. I can't wait to go to an event. Like, I'm so excited. Like, that's the thing that drives me every day. When are we going to another event? When are we going to another event? And it's all tax deductible. It's so amazing.
I love it. Well, you stay on. I'm going to tell the ladies bye, and I'm going to tell you bye privately. So that's it for us, ladies. You guys have a blessed, amazing day. And this is Taylor Thompson, the She Network, with Miss Courtney Epps. So, bye-bye.